27 and 28. But the Jews who were in Susa gathered on the 13th day and on the 14th, and rested on the 15th day, making that day a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages who lived in the open towns called the 14th day of the month of Adar as a day of gladness and feasting, a holiday on which they sent gifts of food to one another. Mordecai reported these things and sent letters to all the Jews who were in the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both near and far, enjoining them that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and also the 15th day of the same month, year by year, as the days on which the Jews gained relief from their enemies, and as the months that had been turned for them from sorrow into gladness, and from mourning into a holiday, that they should make them days of feasting and gladness, days for sending gifts of food to one another, and presents to the poor. So the Jews adopted as a custom what they had begun to do, as Mordecai had written to them. The Jews established and accepted as a custom for themselves and their descendants, and all who joined them, that without fail they would continue to observe these 2 days every year, as it was written, and at the time appointed. These days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, in every family, province, and city. And these days of Purim should never fall into disuse among the Jews, nor should the commemoration of these days cease among their descendants. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Back in 2006, I believe it was, maybe earlier than that, I had the joy of being asked by our bishop to start a new church. And we started a new church in the southwest area of Gainesville, which in itself was a holy moment. Be nice. We have guests today, be nice. But it was also, when it came time to name the church, we pondered greatly what we should name this church. We were in an area where there was the Kandace Botanical Gardens, and so we thought, should we name the church Kandace United Methodist Church? And then we thought, well, we were going to be located on Archer Road. Should we call ourselves the Archer Road United Methodist Church? And ultimately, we settled on the word celebration. We were thinking so much about, in Luke's Gospel, of how celebration is talked about in a quick series, that finding of the one lost sheep, and that finding of the one lost coin, and the finding of the one lost son, and how at the end of each of those findings there was a great celebration. And we realized that's really what our faith should be all about, is a grand celebration. And so we named the church Celebration United Methodist Church. And I'm always so gratified now when I drive through Gainesville, not so much gratified about the development, but I noticed that one time I drove through there and they put up this huge development. There's a Bass Pro Shop. I know that's exciting for many of you. And all kinds of shops, and they named that area Celebration Point. And I thought, I wonder if they named it after the church. I'd like to think that they did, but I don't know if they did or not. But celebration, when we come to the end of the book of Esther, which was a book, by the way, that started with a celebration. Remember when we've been talking about the story of Esther the last few weeks, and it started with a king's feast. And remember, Queen Vashti refused to go in to be paraded before the men, and so she lost her place as the queen. But the story ends with a grand celebration as well. It's a story that, especially here at the end, it commemorates the bravery of Esther in saving the Jewish people from annihilation. And as we heard in our scripture reading, it includes a time of great feasting and sharing food with neighbors and friends. And always, as part of the celebration of Purim, is the reading of the story of Esther for the whole community. And as we did several weeks ago with our children and with your help, we read the story, and as they continue to do it in the Jewish tradition, it's very participatory. The crowd boos the king, and they boo the desire to annihilate the Jewish people, and they give cheers for Mordecai and for Queen Esther, and there's the great stomping of feet and hissing, and the story is great fun to tell in the Jewish community. But it's an important and serious event as well, because tied in with the celebration and tied in with the telling of the story is the power of remembrance. Today, as we talk about holy celebration and what makes up a holy celebration, what the characteristics are of a holy celebration, we have to begin with this idea of remembrance, of remembering. And for the Jewish people, it's much greater than just an intellectual exercise. When they remember the story of Esther, they participate in the story. When the Jewish people remember the story of Passover, they participate with all of their being, and it's as if they are reliving the event, even though they may not be historically, they are in their spirits. It's a Greek word that we use called anamnesis, and it's a deep, profound kind of remembering. It's a word that shows up today in our Christian tradition. When we celebrate the sacrament of Holy Communion, for example, there's a part of that celebration that's called the anamnesis, and it's when we remember the work of Christ. We remember the work of God in creation and salvation and the ongoing work of sanctification as well. And as we remember, we put ourselves into the story and experience it as well. So every celebration has a part of it that is remembering, holy remembering. This week, I asked you to send me stories of your own celebrations, stories of celebrations that were meaningful for you. And certainly on this weekend, as we commemorate Memorial Day, remembrance is a big part of that. We remember those who gave their life in service to their country. And part of this weekend is not only the celebration that we have an extra day off of work and an extra long time away, but we remember that with a certain sobriety, the sacrifice that made this weekend possible. And I want to, as part of my sermon today, I want to talk about the characteristics of holy celebration and allow you through your sharing, which was so generous, by the way. I was so grateful to receive your notes and your own memories, and I thank you for those. And I'm sorry that I can't include all of those in this sermon, or we would be here until Tuesday, perhaps. But there was such a spirit of sharing in there, and I do want to share some of these great stories with you. Several of your responses pointed to how important memory was and remembering. One of you wrote, I think this was the Geigers wrote this. They talked about an anniversary party that was sweet because partly it was a surprise. It was a party given to them by their children. And these parties, oftentimes anniversary parties and parties that are filled with remembrance, we think about the folks who walked alongside us in our longer marriages, or maybe in our whatever journey we might be taking. And they write, as we made our way through this room full of people, we were again surprised by how many people were there from every facet of our lives. We were totally blown away when we saw lifelong friends from growing up, friends who were in our wedding party, people we worked with throughout our careers, friends and neighbors, and of course family. One couple came all the way from Costa Rica. What a great time when we celebrate things like anniversaries to remember the early years, for example, and the things we made it through as husband and wife. Sometimes those celebrations of remembering have more impact on those attending the celebration than they might on the ones who are actually being celebrated. This memory, this is one that just touched me so deeply, and I'm grateful to Julie Hatfield for sharing this. She writes, one of the heaviest celebrations I remember was my grandparents' 50th anniversary party. It's hard to impress a teenager, but I still recall the love and the joy that night. Their 6 granddaughters wore matching floral print dresses, which we thought was a really cheesy idea, but we did it for our Mimi, whose patience, gentleness, and unconditional love made all of us willing to make her smile. Papa was a little rougher around the edges in general, but he was also very soft and transparent about his tremendous love for her, and it was on full display that night. She goes on and she says, it was a lovely party, but what I really remember was watching my grandparents be in love with each other and everyone around them. When Mimi died suddenly of a brain aneurysm 2 years later, we growing girls squeezed into those floral dresses for her funeral, and we were glad to do it. I know, that made me go, aw, too. It's such a, memory is so powerful, and the things that we'll do to carry those memories with us really make celebrations holy. In the Jewish community, again, that remembering was much more than intellectual. It became visceral. Holy celebrations are also characterized by affirmation. I think that's what birthdays are all about. Birthdays are the day that you get to look somebody in the eye and say, we're glad you were born. This world is a better place, a more valuable place, a more beautiful place because you are now part of it. One of us wrote this. It says, they wrote, it has become a tradition for us to host family birthday dinners at our house. We do it up big with birthday hats, balloons, banners, and special birthday cakes made of the honoree's favorite snack. For example, I've made cakes out of Krispy Kreme donuts, Oreo-shaped cakes, and once I even made a birthday cake out of Cheez-Its. You had me a Krispy Kreme. I'm not sure about the Cheez-Its, but I guess if it's your favorite snack, that would be a great birthday cake. When we, over the next few weeks, even in this congregation, we're going to be celebrating 2 baptisms. Baptisms are holy celebrations of affirmation. They're moments when we hold this child, and it's my favorite part is getting to hold these beautiful babies, and we say to that child, even though they might not be able to understand us, we say, you are a child who is loved deeply by God. And you didn't have to do anything to earn or deserve that love. It just is. God's love for you is tremendous, and it will never go away. And that sacrament of baptism is a way of affirming God's love for us, and we remember it as well for ourselves. Several folks in this congregation shared with me times that they were affirmed. Bruce Harder was affirmed 2 or 3 years ago, right, Peggy? It's been that long. When the Learning Pavilion here in town, that was formerly known as the Dick Hauser Center for Childhood Services, was named after Bruce. And it now carries his name. And he writes, I was so honored as an inspiring advocate for children with developmental delays and disabilities. Just this past Thursday night, I had the joy of going to a dinner that celebrated Sue Spencer. She was named as one of the Tallahassee Silver Stars. This is a way of celebrating our seniors who maintain an active lifestyle, and I was not surprised, but still surprised to know that Sue gets up every morning, and after she has a time of prayer and meditation, she walks 5 miles every single day and serves our community in numerous ways. And it was such a joy to not only to celebrate Sue, but all of the seniors who were celebrated that night. There was a woman at our table who is 99 years old, folks. No more excuses for any of you. The woman is 99 years old. She spends several days a week visiting hospice patients. She's extraordinarily active, and she tells a story in her biography. She grew up in Boston, and her family had a fried chicken shack, and she talks about serving people like Ella Fitzgerald and Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington, and she's 99 years old, and she made me tired just listening to all the things that she does. And I know it's, for many of us, it's embarrassing to be called out, but there's also something amazingly affirming when somebody says, you have done something extraordinary, and we want to make note of that. So holy celebrations affirm us. They also acknowledge milestones and accomplishments. One of our young adults wrote this. She said, I love celebrating triumphs after hard-fought battles. Celebrating ease after pain feels so good. I think that's why I like Easter so much. And then she goes on to say, my most meaningful celebration was winning a big competitive award in college about an impact I made on campus over 4 years. I was celebrated in front of hundreds of my peers, and it was a total surprise. I had labored so hard for 4 years, and the recognition for my efforts, both success and failures, was overwhelming. Something about hitting those milestones, graduations. This is the season, isn't it, for graduations, or the big moments in our lives. But I think what was so clear to me as I read so many of your stories, your small celebrations, your larger celebrations, because they're all the same, they're all important, they're all holy. What blew my mind is that each and every one of them was bathed in love. And I think that's what Holy Celebration is all about. It's about acknowledging love, whether it's individual. Carrie Smith wrote about the day, he said, my most meaningful celebration, August 9th, 1958, the day I married Fanny Kehoe in Dayton, Ohio. Never had I met someone who not only shared the same spiritual values, but also had the same personal, quirky, free-thinking attitude towards life. It was a great ride for 56 years, and he writes, I know we will meet again soon. And it was in talking about love that many of you then came into that third part of my question, and it was this: what do we as a congregation, what do we as a people have to celebrate? Where is the celebration in who we are? And many of you said, in fact, one of you said, we should celebrate more the missional work we do in the name of love, where St. Paul's becomes the hands and the feet of Christ. In hurricane relief and Manna on Meridian, soul food, youth missions that plants the seed of service in our young people for lifelong service. We should celebrate our sister churches in Haiti and Cuba, our new partnership with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, where children in our own town are no longer sleeping on the floor because we've built beds with our hands and given beds to children. These are all based, an individual said, on sharing the love of Jesus with others. Another lifted up the name of Kara Fleischer and said she's done amazing work, expanding our horizons on all things environmental, and we should celebrate that. Another said the way we demonstrate Christ's love to young families through MOPS and Mommy and Me Music program. And they said our progress in making room and the new children's wing, which we will affirm, right? We're going to name that children's wing the Mary Maud Sharp Children's Wing, and I can't wait to do that because Mary Maud has spent countless years with our children teaching Sunday school. And just doing that will allow us to expand the impact of this church. But what made my week was this note. Again, from one of the young folks in this church. I copied this out, and it's on my bulletin board, and I wish for you to do the same thing. In fact, if I get her permission, I'll share it in our emails. But this is what she wrote, and this is the core of it, folks. Listen to these words. They're spoken better than anything I could say. She writes, we have so much to celebrate. I want to dance down the line towards communion every week after reminding each other that despite our sins, we are all forgiven. Holy cow. We don't need to fear death because we believe Jesus beat it. I want to party in that lack of fear which allows us to live boldly. I want to celebrate this beautiful creation God made and gave to us as a playground to explore and respect and discover. I want to live an awesome life because the infinite Creator made that possible. Our church has abundant, awesome life to celebrate. I wish everyone outside and inside the church lived in that truth every second of every day. I'm jazzed just writing about it. She catches it, doesn't she? There's no reason for us not to celebrate because Christ has done the tremendous work of salvation for us. Just this week, I came in and I found this on my desk. Anybody know what this is? It's not from Calvary, I promise. I didn't go over to Calvary. It's a piece of wood that's obviously been through the fire. Well, evidently this week, as we started the demolition in what will be the new children's wing and the foundation, did you know we had a fire in the foundation? Some of you did know that. I didn't know that. We had a fire in the foundation that was set, and we rebuilt after that. And this was put on my desk as a reminder of the resilience of this community, of the power of this community. And I think this is such a great physical reminder that not even fire could burn down this church. Not even flames could destroy this community. Folks, there are all kinds of things right now threatening to tear the community of the church apart. And one of the things that I have always celebrated about this congregation is your willingness to hold in tension various viewpoints on whatever topic we seem to be talking about. Let's celebrate that unity we have. And if we need to look at this every now and again and remind ourselves that we're stronger than opinions, and we're stronger than fire, and we're stronger than whatever the world might say about staying together or leaving and dividing and being your own person, let's remember that we are better together. That's why God knit us together as a community, because we are better together, we're stronger together, we're more loving together, there's more we can do together. We're more powerful witness for Christ when we're together. That burnt piece of wood is a great reminder of the resilience, the historical resilience of this community. And those words that I just shared with you about the power of Christ's life that is greater than death, life that is something to celebrate each and every day, that's more powerful than whether we agree or disagree, even on points of theology. So carry those words, carry that image of resilience, and let's celebrate this summer. Let's celebrate who we are in all of our wild, crazy wackiness, and all of our giftedness, and all of our celebrations. And let's make every time we gather together, whether it be in worship or in fellowship, let it be a holy celebration filled with affirmation and great memories and joy and love. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.